Here we go. What's going on, Greg?
Hello, guys.
We're,
Hello, Marco.
we're back at it again after being away for a week. Um, just didn't work out last week. Life happens, but here we are again. Let's pick up where we left off last time, Greg. So the last episode was called "Breaking the Mold," and just to recap a little bit, we talked about you know um, basically like our programming and conditioning of things that have created us, um, I guess, like to what we are now, right? Uh, right. So basically, more specifically, we were talking about how our past experiences and our past conditioning and programming from our parents, teachers, colleagues, whatever it may be, led to us now, which is a couple of college dropouts, um, struggling to make a name for ourselves. But here we are, and today we're going to continue the talk. Um, you know, Specifically about breaking the mold and trying to recondition ourselves and recondition uh, our our mind and reprogram our mental wiring. And yeah, let's pick it up from there. But before we get there, how you been? I know I didn't see you last week, so how's everything going?
I've been okay. I started to do more driving to make some more money, and with that, I've actually been learning about like the cities around that I've been to, like places that you've gone like once in your life, and you're like, oh, okay, I I remember doing this in this place, and then you just randomly are driving around, and you drive right by it, and you're like, I've been there, and it's one street away from something you do like every day. You never go that way. There's no reason for you to ever go that way, so you never actually pieced it together that you're so close to these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been running into a lot of those because I've been driving around so much that it's just so interesting that things that I thought were so far away are just right around the corner. And
So do you like that? Do you like that feeling of like?
I mean, I still don't go to those places, but it's just interesting to
think about it, like,
remember
hey,
seeing those things.
I used to walk down the street like all the time, and I never knew that there was this here, like that. Or can you elaborate a little bit more?
No, it's like when you were a kid, if your parents took you to like I don't know, just took you to dinner at this place and it was really good, but you guys never went back, and you couldn't remember what it was, and they don't know what the heck you're talking about. And then one day you're out driving and you're like, that's the place, and it's like right down the street from your work, but you've never gone that far because there's no reason for you to go that way.
Oh, I
because
see.
your house and everything you do is this way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things like that I've been.
So did that happen to you?
Not a restaurant, no.
Oh.
But like other little things.
Oh, I thought that's why you were mentioning it.
No, not discovering new things. Discovering old things that you kind of forgot about, and you rediscovered, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's always interesting. Today I was driving around in LA, doing sales calls for the other company that I work at, where we do travel, and we do all tailor-made travel to Southeast Asia. So together with the owner, I went to go visit some agencies and just do presentations and but I mean, just driving around LA, like the difference between Orange County and LA is that the traffic is a little bit bearable. It's a little bit more bearable here than it is in LA. It's bumper to bumper. You can't go anywhere. It took me 2 hours just to get home,
Mm-hmm.
And but like the whole, I mean, when was the last time I went to LA? Maybe 6 months ago. And just going back there, I like the fast-paced style. But then when I got back here, I'm enjoying more the slow pace, like the slower pace um,
I don't even think
style of living
LA
here.
is fast paced. I just see it so grungy. It's
Well,
not enjoyable.
I think that
It's not clean. It's not. You don't feel like a safeness or an enjoyment. You're always on your toes about something. It seems like I don't know.
well, I think that the lack of cleanliness in LA is partly due to the fact that everybody doesn't have any time. You're always on the go. Yeah, you're always on the go. You know what I saw today? I saw a gallon of water in the side of the road with just piss in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, obviously, that person well, one of two things. They could have been really, really dirty, or it was a truck. They don't stop. They don't have time to stop. They have a shipment to get somewhere, so they just threw it out. But that's part of the problem is that we're living in a society that's moving too fast, where we don't have time to stop anymore. And
Well,
so
go ahead.
and so actually, man, this is actually pretty sad. Something that I saw today. So this guy, right, the guy that I work with, he's done very well for himself. I wouldn't say he's like uber rich, but like he's set. Him and his family are set. And one of the things that he invested in was a $500,000 car as an asset. And this car, it drives like a tank. It's one of those Bentley Mulsannes 2017. Beautiful car. It's one of 25, right? And so we were driving around. We went up to Beverly Hills to like some high end agencies or whatnot. But on the way back, the fastest route was through the ghetto. And so you have me there driving around the ghetto in this $500,000 car where these houses aren't even worth that much, you know? And then I got to this specific cross point, this cross street where there was on the corner, there was a liquor store. And then I saw a guy, like the employee, sweeping up around the liquor store. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, wow. Because I was looking around and LA, it's a mess. There's trash everywhere, on every sidewalk, every corner, every gutter, just trash. Well, I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, wow, look at this guy. He's one of a few people that actually cleans up after himself. And then I got closer. You wouldn't believe, man. This guy was sweeping all the trash, and I'm talking about like diapers, food containers, cans, napkins, trash bags, everything. He was sweeping everything, but guess where he was putting it?
Just on the neighbor?
No, in the drain.
Oh, yeah.
So what the fuck is that, right? I could not believe. I'm like, dude, from afar, I felt proud. I'm like, man, look at that guy, hard worker. His community looks like shit, but at least he's taking care of his store. And I get close, and he's sweeping everything into the sewage. So come on, dude. Like, I mean, I don't know. And I think it's part of the same thing. I think it's just part of how they grew up. Like those people who, because I mean, even here, man, this week has been really crazy for me. I've been on the go. It's just meetings, school, like doing this property management course, work, obviously, like the business is just everything is just too hectic right now. I haven't had time to like clean the house as usually I have it pretty clean, not this week. So I feel like I was reverting back, well, due to the amount of workload that I have, and you could say the stress that accompanies that workload. I haven't dedicated time to clean the house, and I feel like I'm reverting back to my previous conditioning and programming, my comfort zone, where I come in and I feel like I'm tired, and I feel like I may not want to sweep or do the dishes. I just put it off. So I did a lot of that this week. And I just feel like, just going back to this guy in LA, I feel like sometimes it's just easier to sweep it under the rug and not take care of it. And, you get LA. Like, that's just like the culture, you know? But you go to Beverly Hills, it's not like that. You go to, um, you go to like Sherman Oaks is a little cleaner. You got, there's a lot of cities that take pride into what they do.
There's a lot to that too. Like the difference between Beverly Hills and this part of LA. In that part of LA, city's not doing anything for these people. The city's not coming in fixing the roads. The city's not coming in and street sweeping every week. The city's not cleaning up the street. You go to Beverly Hills, the city's planting new plants. The city's watering the streets. The city's street sweeping twice a week. The city's kicking out all the people who are making it dirty on the streets. So
That's true.
It's two different things. Like, one, the city's not doing anything. The other one, the city's doing everything. So for what this person is doing for their own property, sweeping it into the drain, over here, someone else is doing that for you.
Do you think that comes from the mayor of the city, or what do they have? Like
I mean, if you think about it, because all the money
councilman?
comes from the people within the cities. So the people within the cities, however much money they have, is however much money the city's gonna have. So when you go to poor areas, there's less money, there's less taxes coming out, there's less stuff going on in your city.
Right.
So when it comes down to making a decision from having street sweeping or having trash picked up, which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose trash picked up over street sweeping. So now your street's going to be dirty, but at least your trash is being picked up.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But what about like I don't know, like, do you think that it just extends? Like, what is the root cause of this? Do you think that is the people, or is it the system, as most people say? Is it rigged for people to be like systematically oppressed? I mean, I feel like let's talk about big companies like the Irvine Company. These guys aren't messing around. Like, they specifically, the way that they designed the city is everything is so far away that you need to drive everywhere. Like, so you won't have like homeless people coming in there. Like, it's impossible for them to walk that much, you know? But in LA, everything is so tightly packed. It's easier to, for someone to live within like 4 blocks. They have places to go, places to sleep. Like, there's tents everywhere, but not in Irvine. Do you think that it has to do with the way they built the city, or what is the root cause of the the lack of cleanliness? Like, it must have a lot of variables, right? It must be like mentality.
How often? Sure, you may clean your house, but how often do you clean the walkway outside of your front gate here? Never.
Well, actually, when I clean the house, I also sweep the outside. I do.
Yeah, you sweep your area. But you don't go all the way over here. You don't sweep out in front of your garage. You don't sweep the street. You don't clean any of that stuff.
No, we have a landscaper here.
Yeah,
who does it once a week.
That's the point, though. Like, at a certain point, you don't have money for those kind of things. So if you don't do it, it doesn't get done. And you don't have time to do it because you're working 2 jobs to make sure you even have the house in the first place.
Right.
So you're not coming home to go do those things because you want to be able to go grocery shopping or do your laundry or relax for half a day because that's the only time you have to relax within the week or things like that. So it's different, and that's why when you have more money, we've always
you can delegate things more.
You kind of associated cleanliness with successfulness a few times. You said,
yeah,
and I've seen that, but I don't necessarily think that the link is there that one contributes to the other, because the cleanliness, like, how many rich people have you known that don't have someone who comes in and cleans and straightens up their house? Like, I've never met someone who's been wealthy who hasn't had like a maid.
So I understand your point, but I'm sure that there was one point in their life where they were doing that work.
Sure,
They were just able to afford it and delegate it.
sure, but it's
So
not. It's not at the same like level. Like they may have had a 2 bedroom house or 2 bedroom apartment, which is manageable to clean on a daily basis. Where they go to a 5 bedroom house where you ain't cleaning that on a daily basis.
Right.
Regardless, like you know, people don't have time for that.
Yeah.
That's like a 3 hour job for half the house.
Yeah.
So it's not feasible for those things to happen. So,
right. So what rich people do, and we can talk about the book that I was reading, The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. He talks about that. He talks about how the rich mentality, well, once you become successful, you tend to delegate things more, and you essentially have your money working for you instead of you working for your money. And that's the key difference between a rich mentality, as we spoke about last time, and a poor mentality, where the poor mentality, people are working for their money. They go to a 9 to 5 job. They trade in their hours, their time for money. And the rich and successful mentality and those people, they do it the other way around. They work hard, but there's a shift. Like, it's less labor intensive, it's smarter, but they understand the power of money, and so they are able to delegate the the job or the task to somebody else who's willing to do it. And so therefore they're free of of doing that task, but at the end of the day it still gets done.
sure, but then you can't. If you say you're not successful, you don't have the money to do that. You can't delegate anything, so you have to do it. So that's why there's a difference too, though.
Yeah, but right, but
things that there's no one there to
yes,
do it.
but the whole point is that a person who is not successful yet, a person who doesn't have that money to be able to delegate those jobs to someone else, they can become successful, and they can also have the opportunity to not do that work. So just because you have a poor mentality and you grew up with this bad conditioning and life was just really unfair to you, it doesn't mean that you have to be that way. It just means that you're gonna have to work harder at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like 5 years, maybe you clean your house for 5 years, but at the 6th year, then you can hire a cleaning service or a maid or whatever you like, you know? So I think that's just the key difference between the two. But I mean, the issue with LA that I see is that there's so many people together, and everyone is worried about what they have to do, and they're not really worried about other people. Like, it's almost very selfish. People driving, erratically, just trying to get to work because they're late because there's an accident that causes a 2 hour, delay or whatever. So that's one thing. And then there's other people who only have 30 minutes to go out to get lunch, so they're trying to hurry because they have to get back. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just like it's just a mess, dude. But see, Orange County here, I think that we're also a mess, but we're an organized mess. An organized mess. We have like the messy areas. It could be anywhere from like the lower part, the southern part of Long Beach, to the heart of Santa Ana, to the south or the southwest of Costa Mesa. But the rest, I think we're okay. Here in Fullerton, I see more people that are, man, they're just lost. I just see a lot of people with mental illness. It's sad, man. And what nobody can do anything. Like I don't know what to do, and it always baffles me. Like, like how can I contribute to the community in a way that it actually makes a difference, and where people start caring more about their house and the curb appeal of the properties and um, even their health. I never noticed until I moved here how many people live in Fullerton, dude. There's a lot of people here, and I think that when you have like a big population like that, 10% of people, they're going to be one of those people that have something wrong with them, either mental illness or life just happened to them, or things just happen where you know it's just they got the short end of the stick, and they're just never able to move out of there. Maybe they don't have the support. I mean, I don't know. I think it's very complicated. But for people like you and me who have been blessed to have the support of friends, we have had the support of our family, we have the opportunity to work, we have all our limbs, we have our eyes. Like, how can we get better? How can we, see what's going on around us and choose to do something else? Like how do you feel about that? Like, don't you feel like you're really lucky in a sense
Oh yeah.
that we're able to do this? Like, we have the ability to sit down and have a conversation. A lot of people don't have that.
Man. It, to me, it's kind of weird when things are said like that, where some people don't have opportunities to sit down and have a conversation. Where we're fine with saying that people don't have opportunities to do that, but then, like we talk about, we have just as much of an opportunity to become a millionaire as anyone else. So then it would apply the same way. Anyone can have the opportunity.
Yes. So
to
actually,
do that too.
I actually had this thought today when I was driving in LA, because it was like night and day, man. The difference between Beverly Hills and I don't even know what city we were in, the ghetto area.
Oh, yeah, like,
It's night and day, and I had this thought. I said, I was thinking to myself, and I was just thinking, I'm like, somebody will always be poorer or richer than you, no matter where you're at. Somebody will always be poorer or richer than you. Where do you fall in place, and where do you want to be?
and I think it's actually changed to that there's more poor people now than there's ever been. And I saw this because they compared, what is it, Forbes always does the 10 richest people.
Yeah.
And if you go back, I think it was 50 years, the top 10 people that were on Forbes' top 10 richest people wouldn't even make the top one wouldn't even make the top 10 now. Would be nowhere near.
Yeah, but I also think that it's accrued. It's been compound. Like maybe that person's family line is one of the top 10 now. You know what I mean? Because you can't compare, and then you have to account for inflation, you have to account for technology, you have to account for a bunch of things that they didn't have back then.
Sure,
Like we can't
accumulation of businesses that are all held into one group now. Like Amazon owns almost every single type of business there is.
A type of business.
No, like they own clothing
Right.
brands, they own computer companies, they own devices, they own research and development, they own multiple different types of companies as one company.
Yeah,
Where
but
before that wasn't a thing. You usually specialize in a thing and you grow there.
yeah.
Now these
Well,
few are now owning
Yeah, but you have to account for the technology. In 1950, we didn't have the internet.
Mhm. So, but that's what the point though is. There's only a certain amount of people at any time. So you're gonna have now that one person is owning most of these things that everyone is using, then there will be less people with more money.
You know what I heard, and I forget where I heard it, and we have to double check. I heard that Jeff Bezos is not nearly as rich as a person like in the 1800s. Like you could not even, like, the amount of power and the amount of money he has now, that can't compare to the amount of power and money the guy had then. And we're not talking about numbers, we're talking about worth. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like comparing Jeff Bezos to the guy back then, this guy's not even close. Like Jeff Bezos is not even closely as rich or powerful as this other guy was. I forget his name. I read an article somewhere. I must have been like a few months ago. I can't remember. But we have to look that it. We have to look that up. So I think that there's always going to be. I'm telling you, like someone will always be richer, and someone will always be poorer than Jeff Bezos. Eventually, someone's going to be richer than him.
Someone always controls the money. There's always a top and there's always a bottom of everything in life. Like, even if you can compare it in the sense of good and evil, people would probably consider good the top and evil the bottom. And there's an in-between of both, and there's people who lean more towards one way than the other, and it's just the world is.
That's just
everything is a balance of one way or the other.
Well, yeah, you got to think about the yin and the yang, between good and evil.
So for you to become a millionaire, someone else has to become poor. It's just how it is.
I mean,
there's no.
I don't
there's only
know.
A certain amount of money. So if you're holding the money, someone else is not. So that's really what it is.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
So now
I think that's a.
So now, say you have a business. Now you're giving back your money to someone else to then take it somewhere else.
To reinvest it in the business.
Well, no, like say you just pay your employees their normal wage.
Okay.
Those employees are now going to go out and buy things. So let's say Amazon employees.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting paid by Jeff Bezos, let's say.
Right.
And now those Amazon employees are most likely have Amazon and they go and buy things from Amazon. So that money's now going back.
Smart.
To Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, it's smart.
So it's just his money's coming back to him anyways.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Yeah, that's why he's so rich. Because.
So that's the point though. Like every time he gives out money, it's coming to him anyways. Like it's never actually gone from him. And so it's.
I mean, I would say that he does have. I mean, if you want to talk about profit and loss, I'm sure he has a ton of loss compared to other companies, but at the percentage being really small in his company, he probably has a little bit of loss. But that's what I'm saying. That's what I was talking about last time.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the nature of how things work nowadays. It's not. I mean, I don't even want to say. I don't even want to put fault to this. He created something, right, that just went viral. People are just too lazy to go out and shop for clothes. People are too lazy to go shop for books. That's where it all comes from. Or maybe it's not even laziness. Maybe it's just gluttony. Like, I feel like that's what's going on now. Like, these big tech companies, they're targeting one of the 7 sins. And if you think about it, you can look at fast food. In fast food, entertainment companies, the Amazons, the Costco's, the Walmarts, it's all gluttony, right? Mm-hmm. It's all gluttony. And then you talk about the banks, it's greed. right? I mean, it's kind of bizarre how it works, but then again, there are people within those high levels that actually do give back to the community in one way or another. Or if they're not giving back to the community, they're trying to improve our technology. Like if it wasn't for these companies being so greedy, or whatever you may want to call it, we would never have internet. We would never have,
But
you
let's
know.
go back to that. You're saying that they give back by creating these new things. Did they create these new things because they are trying to give back, or did they create these new things because they're trying to continue on with what they were doing in the first place?
I
It
think
just so happens
I think that
to bring
it's
value to others.
I think it's a balance act. Okay? On one hand, you're providing a service, you're providing a product that people want. And you know people want it because they're buying it.
Mhm.
Okay? On the other hand, you have to make enough money from those people. You have to charge them enough money to make enough money to reinvest in your company so that you can continue expanding or continue innovating. Because without one or the other, we wouldn't have what we have today. We wouldn't have cars. We wouldn't have airplanes. Like travel has never been this fast, ever. Right?
Mhm.
Like we are now able to travel across the globe. That's a major luxury. People in the back in the day, Columbus had to take a ship, a wooden sailboat across the Atlantic Ocean to come here to South America,
He
or
had
wherever the
help
hell.
from the aliens, though.
Whatever. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
Steve can probably tell us a little bit about that.
Well, go ahead.
But anyway, I'm just saying, like, if I mean we weren't there. I can't. I don't know history. I think without us being there, it's really hard to talk about history
Mhm.
because we hear stories left and right. We don't really know what's true. What we know is true is that we're at this point now. What do we know? We know that we have cars. We have the luxury. I mean, almost everyone can have a car. We have cell phones. You can talk to somebody across the world right now on your cell phone. That had like before, I don't know, what is it, 19, what was it, 1875 when we had the um the telegram
I
or
don't know
whatever.
anything that happened outside of the time period I've been alive.
You never read of history?
I can't be like, in 1600s, peanut butter was created. Like, no, dude. All I've eaten was Skippy. I don't know about when it was created. I don't know what kind of brand it was. Like,
Well, I think that that's like one of the problems that we have is that we're not looking back at our history. We're not looking back at why our parents think the way they think. Why did we become the way we are? We're not looking back. And without that, how can we move forward? I think that's just part of the
it's just like how what movie was it that made me start like, oh my gosh,
The
Can't remember
Matrix?
movie.
The Matrix?
No, they were fighting. Oh no, it wasn't a movie. It was actually a video game. I think it was actually World of Warcraft. I had stopped playing it, but I like to watch the cinematics that they come out with, like the storyline.
Okay.
Always throw out
Like the
some
animations?
pretty well made cinematics.
Animations?
For it, yeah. And so what happens is the two sides who've been at war forever, the leaders now are friends because they realize what they've been fighting all this time for is they've just been fighting because this happened, that happened, and all they needed to do was talk to each other and figure something out. And now that they're old and they're all dying because the other people are becoming the war chiefs and all that, the cycle's just starting all over again, and they're just like, wow, we wasted all this time and now it's happening again.
I think that that's part of maturement.
I just
With
think
that's
part of
human.
life, though,
That's human nature.
because I don't care what those people did because that wasn't my life.
Right, because it didn't affect you directly.
And it still doesn't affect me because
But it does.
Yes and no.
It
Because
does.
sure, it may affect what's happening. It may affect what I'm going to be going into, but it hasn't affected me until that.
No.
So whenever something happens, I react to what happens rather than what had happened before because that happened to that person that doesn't affect me directly. Like
well,
just like if someone gets murdered right now, right? Like this is outrageous. Say this girl's boyfriend gets murdered right now. It could end up being the best thing in my life because what if that woman became my wife? You know what I'm saying?
That's a little selfish,
Like,
Craig, but yeah, I heard.
It
I
didn't
heard.
matter to me, but now it matters because now it changed the aspect of my life.
Okay, so let me give you this one. What if this guy getting murdered sets this girl off into a shooting spree, and now you're affected in one way or another by this tragedy?
Yeah, but
it would affect.
I don't have control over that part that happened. So in that sense, it doesn't matter to me because I had no control in that. I am only in control of the situations that are happening around me in the time. So I'm not learning from those situations. I'm only learning from what's in front of me.
Okay.
Because that truly doesn't affect me. It affected the situation that I was in at the time.
Well, you have to think about it this way, man. Do you believe that you are able to pass genes onto people? Like your genes are passed through generations?
I don't think it's something that is like, I don't know the word.
Okay.
Apparent to the person. So I may have been passed down something that I'm like how they say, oh, you're just like your dad, or you look just like your great grandpa. It's like I've never met the person. I've never learned a single thing from them. They were dead 10 years before I was born. Like, sure, I may be doing something similar because it's something that
was passed down to you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or it's more or less a similarity in how we are as a body, like just like how there's diseases that a lot of the same family members have the same stuff.
Yeah.
So like people with heart conditions, you're more likely to have a heart condition. But do you think it was passed down, or it's just the way that your body's made within what you're given in the genes? I guess it's not that things are being sent down like ways of thinking. Or
no, not ways of thinking. However,
like passive things however, no control.
However, check this out. There has been some certain diseases that are linked through your your history. Mm-hmm. Genetically, it's proven, right? There is that. But also you have to think about, where does fear, why do we have fear? Why are we emotional? Why do we have emotions? Have you ever thought about that? Why do you love
situations around us?
Yeah, but it's okay. But
it's like kids who are Spartans are growing up beating up each other and killing tigers when they're 3 years old.
Partly.
We have never seen a tiger, so when one's charging at us, we don't know what the hell to do except for be like, I'm dead.
I'm not sure. I don't know where you went there,
like,
but
the
hang
point
on.
Is they don't fear the tiger because they understand what the tiger is. Where we fear the tiger because we've never seen one, and all we know about a tiger is that it's going to rip your throats.
Okay, but if you're talking about those Spartans, those Spartans were descendants from previous warriors. So they only got like the best of the best of the best. The kids that didn't make it, it was like, natural selection.
Sure, it's training, but just I mean, it doesn't really happen that much now, but there's times where you have to run to the family, or someone who doesn't fit in, they may not get the same training or attention, so they're not getting the previous knowledge from before, but they were still born from that person, so they're not being tossed down.
Okay,
those
what
genes. It's the
Mm.
situations that you're in that you're learning from.
I think that it's both.
Because I could be the smartest person in the world, but then never give my child the chance to learn, lock them up in a room, and it doesn't mean that they are going to be as smart as me just because they're my child.
That's why I'm saying I think it's both. I think it's both your programming, your conditioning, along with your genes. That's why they say genes and hard work, you can't beat that. If you have both, how can you beat that? Genes and talent, you can't beat that. But if you have genes and no talent, it doesn't matter. If you have what it takes, but you don't do it, it doesn't matter. But if you do it and you don't have the genetic backup to it, you still have a chance. It's like bodybuilding. Anybody can become fit. It's just people don't choose to sometimes. That's one. That's their conditioning. But then if you think about it, like I'm not built like a Spartan, right? I'm not built like a warrior. So that's genetic makeup. You see what I mean?
I mean, you're not built like a warrior because you weren't born to be a warrior. Like, that's what I'm saying. I feel like it's more the circumstances that you're in.
I think it's, yeah, that has a lot to do with it. But I also think genetics play a part. If you don't think that, then why does your kid have, the same hair?
But see, that's what I'm saying. There's
Same
passive
eyes.
things that you have no control over that are there.
Some of which are your genes.
But when it comes to having understanding of things, like reading a book, you could be who's someone who's considered like a good reader in the world. I can just say you were able to write books and read books really well, but you never taught your child how to read, and they never went to school. They're not gonna. They would never have the opportunity to be that way.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it's both. You're saying no, but I think that's too.
The experiences that you had.
So you're saying that if you don't put if you put your boy to school, and you're smart already, you're like really successful. You already you've been handed down whatever X from your parents. That's the way they taught you. So now you're teaching your kid. Don't you think that it's also genetic? The way that they like the things that they're interested in, like artists, you can think about like Will Smith. His kid is an artist. You don't think that, like, why is he an artist? Well, his dad's an artist. Or even like the Kardashians. Like one day you're gonna see the little Kardashians, and they're just gonna be like their parents. It's both. I think it's your genetic makeup and your experiences.
But like we were talking about before, I think it's that balance. Like
it's both. That's why I'm saying I think it's both. It's both. Because without one, you can't have the other, man. You can't have one.
Well, because who was
you have to have both.
Yeah, even Jeff Bezos said Amazon's not going to be around forever.
Nothing lasts forever.
He's like, Amazon will eventually die out.
Yeah, because people will move on from that. It's just a thing that caught on that people like right now. 100 years from now, we may not even be having to go out or buy anything. We're going to have 3D printers. Just print your own damn thing. You see, but it's going to go with technology.
Dude, it's just going to be it's going to be this, you're going to be sitting or standing or hanging or something. You have an IV in you, and it's just going to 3D print food in your mouth while you're in the Matrix. Just freaking doing whatever the hell you want. It's just going to be crazy. I'm ready.
That's what you want to do? You want to be in the Matrix?
Dude.
Why? Why do you want to be in the Matrix?
Oh.
Well, you must have a reason. Everybody has a reason for everything.
No, it's easier in the sense of
Okay,
how I
let me tell you that. Let me stop you there really quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Does your dad enjoy computers or technology?
I mean, he uses computers, but he's not.
Why does he use computers?
That was
You
what his work was. He was an
you don't think he likes
engineer.
it? Like,
I mean,
would he have
like
stayed there if
in
he
the
didn't like
sense
it?
of enjoying like video games.
No, well, I'm not
He
saying
enjoyed video games and then he stopped.
I'm not saying video games.
But
I'm
like,
saying like technology, more specifically technology.
I mean, I think it became more of a job for him because he doesn't seem like interested in them.
Yet he spent most of his life within these parameters.
Yeah.
You must enjoy something about it in order to stay there forever. You don't think?
No.
Did
He
he?
never like talked about like.
Yeah, because it's his personal thing. Like that's what I'm saying. Like he never taught you to like computers. Yet for some weird reason, you're over here programming and like video games. That's what I'm saying. That it's not necessarily just the experiences that or your programming that your parents give you. It's also something genetically that may be passive, like you say, that you didn't really think about until now.
No, see, I don't. No, because
What you're trying to
you were saying though
Hmm.
is you're trying to say that was something that's passed down previous to the experiences that I have experienced with my dad, which have guided me in a certain direction because I've had no other choice in that sense. So
Or
like,
it could be
as
both.
as you grew up, like I can only be doing one thing right now. We could have never started this podcast. So within the times that we have been doing the podcast, I would have to be doing something else.
Okay.
So the only reason that my life is headed on this direction is because I'm doing this at this time. If I wasn't doing this, my life would have been going into a different direction.
Okay.
And none of that has to do with what my great great grandpa was doing in his life.
What was your great great grandpa doing in his life?
I have no clue, and that's
Okay, so you wait. No, hang on. You're saying it like
it's a passive thing. I have no control over it. If, regardless of the similarities between the two of us, I have no control over that. Based off of the only reason because you can only be going in one direction. So sure, his actions affected where I am now, based off of like him getting with his wife, which means that that cycle came to where I got to be here. So he got with his wife, they had a child, that child got with their wife, had a child, so on and so forth until I came. Those
Okay.
things sure affected me, but none of those decisions were something that were passed down through genes to make me want to do something specific. It's based off of where I was from the moment I was born to now. I can only be in one spot.
Okay, let's talk
So I was
about
only learning one thing and going whatever the direction was. So if I didn't do one thing, I veered that way or that way or that way.
but
And
yet
it changed.
yes,
And I could have been so many.
you
different
could have
ways.
been, but you're not.
Yes,
You're
but it
here.
doesn't have to do with.
But you
a
don't know
genetic
that.
drop-down.
You don't know that.
But
Because you're only speaking about your experiences. You're
so
not
then what you're saying is that I have no control over what I'm doing. I'm doing it because that's what was gonna happen.
No, I'm saying it's both.
I actually
I'm saying
already believe that.
You think that
based
it's
off of believing in God, I technically believe that we don't have a choice.
so you believe in fate.
In a sense, yes.
Right.
I don't think
You
it's
feel
something
like-
that I know. Like I personally feel like I have the choice to pick up one of these two books, and I chose to pick this one up.
Okay.
But because God's all powerful and He knows past, present, future, and current, that He knew I was going to do that.
You gotta speak to the mic.
So it was predetermined to Him that I was going to pick up that book. But to me, I didn't know which book I was going to pick up until I did.
Okay. Have you ever encountered, I guess, an intersection in your life where you had to make a conscious choice of doing something, or you had a choice, you had to choose between two things, and you chose one over the other?
To do that all the time, but when it's a conscious, hard decision of this is going to change something, sure,
Do you have?
yes.
Would you consider that free will?
I mean, in the sense of that, sure.
Okay. Does it matter if God knew what that was or not? Does that even matter?
Yes and no.
If He gave you the choice to do whatever you want?
Yes and no.
So even if you did the
because if
you
he
chose
knew
the
which
bad
one you were
thing-
going to do, and he gave you the choice, did he really give you a choice? Because he already knew which one you were going to do. So there was no choice.
Okay, let's say-
in his eyes, he knew it was already
Okay,
going to happen.
fine.
So it had happened already.
Fine. Let's talk about
But since I don't live in that realm and I don't have that same understanding and whatever the connection difference is between a God and a human, or God and human, I am living in a space where I have free choice, and he already knows what's going to happen, so it's not free
okay.
choice.
Now let's
It's
talk
very
about
confusing.
okay. What about for people that don't believe in God?
Well,
Do they
that's
have
the
a
point.
choice?
That's the point, though. If God doesn't exist and this concept doesn't exist,
Okay.
then free choice, sure, exists.
Okay. So what I'm asking you again, do you believe in fate?
In a sense, yeah.
Okay. So you don't and you said that you've only had maybe a few instances in your life where you had like you've never felt this, bro. You never felt something deep within you saying, "Hey, hang on. What's going on here? I have these two choices. Oh, wait. Let me consciously make the best choice. And I'm going to do this one." Like, let's talk about peer pressure, okay? All through high school, I'm sure you were offered drugs. I was offered drugs. For whatever reason, I always chose not to take anything. It was my conscious choice. Would it be fate? Like, is it fate for those people to have taken the drugs and go down the path they did? Is that the fate? Is that God knowing that they were going to do that? If God wants the best for you, why did He, that's what I'm saying. Isn't that
That's why it
free
doesn't make
will?
much sense, though.
That's what I'm saying.
There's too much that is not understood.
Right. So okay. So
Yeah.
we're gonna keep going in circles because nobody knows if God is real or not.
Mhm.
We don't know where we come from. But at least we as humans scientifically think we know where we come from. But that could be fate as well. Like we don't know that. There's
yeah.
always a counter argument to everything.
Even if saying that you have the free choice, we can agree that something's going to happen within 10 minutes from now, whether we're alive or not, right?
It's inevitable.
Something's going to happen.
That's just the nature of life.
So in that 10-minute time, whatever happens at that 10th minute was going to happen no matter what. Regardless if it was me picking up this book or not picking up this book. Something's going to happen. And that,
like what?
That is predetermined only because something has to happen.
Have you heard? Oh, yes. Okay.
So
right. Okay.
So in that sense, it's predetermined to happen because only one thing can happen in that moment. There's always something happening in the moment, and every individual thing can only be in one space at one time. So something in that space.
Unless you believe
happens.
In the multiverse.
Yes, but even in that, only one thing can happen in that moment of time. Regardless if I traveled into this multiverse and I'm sitting right next to myself. That happened in that moment of time.
What about time travel?
Happen in that moment of time, no matter what.
What about time travel?
But that's the point, though. Like, all that stuff exists differently. So in that moment,
Okay, but
only
okay,
that
hang on,
can
Greg.
exist.
But okay, you're
So it's happening no matter what.
Okay, Greg.
Whatever it is, so it's predetermined what's going to happen,
Greg,
regardless if you know what it is or not.
Greg, you're saying that life is life. That's exactly what you're saying in a very complicated way.
Life is life.
You're saying that existing life, it doesn't matter. It's just life. We all know this. You're going in circles now.
No. What?
You're saying that a specific thing will happen at a specific time no matter what.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Predetermined is what I'm
But
saying.
is it predetermined?
Yeah.
You can't say it's predetermined. Because what if you go like this and then you don't do it? What if you do something instead of something else? Are you talking about the specific action or like what are you talking about?
Unfortunately, there's no way to actually say it. So
why not?
If I did this in 10 minutes,
okay,
and we went back in time, and
okay.
we killed our previous selves, and we sat in the spot. We did everything the same, except for when it got to that 10th minute, I went like this.
Yeah.
And didn't do that.
Uh-huh.
It's a different time. It's different sections. It's different. It's not the same thing.
I'm not sure where you.
Not have happened.
Okay, I'm not sure where you're going with this conversation. What I'm trying to figure out is
you asked me if I think that it's that life is predetermined. You asked me about free choice, and I said no. I think it has been determined, but in the sense of you and I, we're not on the same level as God, so we don't have the same understanding of predeterminedness. So to us, it's free will.
But that's
we don't know what's.
But that's if you believe in God.
No, that's if God is real. Because just because you believe in something doesn't mean it's real or not real. So if God is real,
okay, let's say
yes.
That's if. I mean, that's a big if. I mean, we don't know. You're basing that argument on something that we really don't know.
No, because the difference in what you're saying is if you believe
I heard what you said. Right, I heard you.
It's if it's real.
I know. I heard. So if God is not real, the conversation that we're having now is just completely irrelevant to what we actually started. Like,
maybe
where I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
but now you're saying you're believing. You're
believing.
Greg, you just backtracking now. You just said you gave me an argument about if God is real, and I said, yeah, if you believe it's God is real. But now you're saying that everything is believing. So you're confusing me. Like, what? Where are we going now?
What? How is it confusing? Because
you said everything is believing.
Yes.
Some things are not believing. Like we don't. You don't have to believe in gravity, but it happens.
Okay. No. There's a difference in what I said and what you said, because what you're saying is
know
believing that something happens that has no actual truth to it.
Okay, hang on.
To being
okay, I'm gonna
explanation of gravity.
Let's go back. Hang on, Greg. Let's go back to the original conversation, which was us being conditioned, pre-programmed by both genetically and by experience. I believe that it's both.
Pre-programming.
Yeah, pre-programming from your genetics. Like we are afraid of bugs. Most people
to do something. It's already written, essentially.
No. Because what if we had evolved not to be fearful of bugs? Would we still jump? No.
Well, then we had, but with the way you're saying is that we have no choice. There was no free choice.
You have the free choice of holding your breath and turning purple, and not holding your breath and not turning purple. That's what I call as free will.
Okay. Yes. But do you have that choice when you're underwater? You have no choice. You're going to drown.
Well,
it's not.
why don't
at
you get
certain-
out of
in-
there?
in
I mean,
certain
it's.
circumstances. There's
I
no
don't.
choice
I don't
in
think
our
that
choice.
argument holds up.
Well, no, because when you're
And we're not
saying
underwater.
that there's predetermined things, you have no choice in that sense, which means there is no free
What I'm
choice
saying is,
within that.
you didn't have the choice to not be you here. It came from your parents. It came from your the people in your bloodline. Whoever you are now, like, we're completely different because our families made completely different choices,
Mhm.
right?
So we've experienced different things. You were in different places at different times. Yes.
What I'm saying is that you are a product of genetically from your bloodline, and I am a product of my bloodline, right? But here we are now. Now, at one point, if you want to be racist, your blood, like part of your bloodline, didn't like my bloodline. But here we are. We made a conscious choice to make peace with that.
Okay.
So, like, knowing that, right, that we come from different bloodlines. Okay. You now have the choice to continue in the same path that your previous bloodline was headed, which was what? Were they headed towards greatness or to misery? Were my
Every part was different.
we don't know that.
I had a.
But you don't know that, right?
Great grandma who committed suicide, so she was headed to nowhere good.
Okay.
And then my grandpa was successful in technology and became a teacher.
Okay. So your grandpa was successful in technology.
Mm-hmm.
In what?
He was the reason my dad got into the computer systems in general. My dad started as a mail person for an office, and then he was given a promotion on the guidelines that he would go to college while he trained in work.
Okay, so this is where I make.
And then my grandpa became a teacher for technology.
This is where I make that distinction of what I was trying to talk about. You have a certain gene in your brain that loves technology. Your endorphins rise when you play video games or when you're on a computer. Where maybe your dad does the same thing. You just don't know that. Maybe you've never asked him. And maybe for your grandpa was the same thing. So that's what I'm saying. Like, your genes are a product of what your ancestors were doing, and they've brought you to this point where you are now.
The only reason I don't understand that is because, just because we're talking about technology. What about the people previous to technology in my bloodline?
Technology
they didn't contribute to me.
Well, Greg, you're misconstruing.
That's what I'm not understanding.
Okay, you're looking at it.
That's what I'm saying. That I understand my physical form, my body, the type of health issues that you don't have control over. That stuff, I'm perfectly fine. I understand that stuff can get handed down through history, but the way that I am in the decision makings that I do, I don't think has to do with anyone who hasn't been immediately in my life. So sure, my grandparents could have done it. Possibly my great-great-grandma, only because she was only alive for the first year of my life. So maybe in a nurturing sense, could have done anything. But anyone previous to that, I think has nothing to do with the way that I am as a person. Maybe contributed to the way that I am in a health sense.
So if you believe in a health sense, wouldn't it make sense to believe in a like your thinking, your thought process, for a lack of a better word?
No, I don't see it. Because,
why not? I mean, if you believe,
a learning concept that you do in a functioning face-to-face situation.
Okay, let me tell you this. There are animals that when they come out of the womb, like a polar bear, they come out biting.
Mm-hmm.
Why? They just came out of the womb. Mm-hmm. Why are they biting? Why are they already trying to eat?
Because their body understands they need to do that.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
Wouldn't you?
innate. It's something you can't control.
That's what I'm saying. Wouldn't you say that it's the same thing between that and your mind?
No,
Because if you don't have your body, your mind wouldn't be
it's
here.
that
And if
same
you don't have your
concept of
mind,
breathing, you were never taught to breathe,
right?
and it's not something you ever think. Like, I not for one moment in today, until we start speaking about it right now, thought about breathing, felt myself breathing, or even worried about breathing.
Do you understand why? Because
it's
you
something
are.
Your body does without taking a second guess. Your body may, but your conscious, like how we're speaking right now, our conscious is not like, you need to make sure to take the next breath. Like, I'm not thinking I need to take the next breath. I need to make sure that I itch that thing. Like, these are
your
all
mind,
passive
hang
things
on,
that are going
hang on. Your mind is thinking about it.
Sure.
Your consciousness is not.
Yeah.
It's a subconscious thing. But wouldn't you say that breathing, in a sense, is a way of, you've been programmed to breathe?
I don't think so. No.
You don't. So what do you think it is?
I think it's something that
it's
based off of the way that
it's programming. Let's go back to coding. Okay.
And we were created then, in that sense. We were created to breathe. That's the functionality
of
having the form that we're in as
that's
human
okay,
on the planet.
Right,
here,
Greg. That's why people have this two-sided fight. We believe in evolution. We evolved to breathe, to be land animals, to be mammals. We evolved from this. Okay? And then you have people saying we were created, right? By a higher power. Both of them, it could be either or it could be both. Maybe we were created by a higher power to be animals, to be these people that roam around, that breathe oxygen. Maybe it's both. But what I'm saying is, if your genes didn't tell you, somewhere in your body, your code, your DNA didn't say you are a person, you need to breathe oxygen, you wouldn't be alive right now. That's programming.
Yes, but that doesn't have to do with the previous people in their life.
It has everything to do with your previous people in your life.
I don't see how.
They survived. They were all breathing.
Yes.
You survived. You're breathing.
But you don't.
There's the correlation.
You don't innately say, "Hey, you need to make sure to take a breath," and that's how you stay alive. Like, it's
because you're programmed. Because you're programmed.
Yeah, but
actually,
they didn't do anything to do that. That's the point.
Well, actually,
it's a process that happens.
Hang on.
To be alive.
Hang on. If the baby's not breathing, don't they like slap it or smack it, or like smack the butt so it can start crying, so it can breathe?
What?
Wasn't that a thing?
What are you talking about?
When the baby's out of the womb and it's not breathing, they inflict one. That's one. But they inflict a small amount of pain so that the baby can
shock.
Yeah.
I've never heard that, but
you didn't see that with your baby? How was your baby? He just came out crying?
Come on.
Oh, well, he came out the other way. Wouldn't you say that sucking? Okay, wouldn't you say that sucking out the mucus and placenta that was in his throat and nostrils? Wouldn't you say that action awakened the breathing in him? Without them physically doing it, he wouldn't have done it. Wouldn't you say that that's a way of programming, in a sense?
No.
So what if they never did?
Because you don't have to do that. Like.
So what if they're just not going to breathe?
No. You don't have to do that. There's natural ways. They figured out by doing that, it's a better chance that you're.
Okay, but natural ways. So either or, you have to take an action, right? You have to do something.
And then natural birth, they just come out. You cut the cord off eventually, and they just
eventually breathe on their own.
Yeah.
All of them?
No, not all of them. There's issues with many babies, and
so okay.
And there's better ways of doing things, and that's what they figured out. But it's not like there wasn't like the suction cup thing, like when you're having a baby, like, oh, when you have a baby, you need to go out and make a suction cup. Like, people weren't doing that
But
for
they
the
did
longest
some,
time.
but
And you used to
right,
have babies.
and that's why we didn't have as big as a population as we do now.
Sure,
Most of them died.
sure.
So wouldn't you say that we have learned that these methods work?
Sure that there's methods to create better outcomes,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean that because of these better measures that you're then teaching someone.
Okay. I think we're getting sidetracked from the original conversation. And before I forget, I had a thought when you were saying about technology and your grandparents.
Uh-huh.
I don't want you to confuse technology for what you know as technology, as what technology is now. Technology has been with us for thousands of years.
Sure. I actually I was listening to the radio and they were asking a question of when the first computer was created. And everyone got it wrong because the first computer was actually technically considered, those math cube things that had the little beads on it that you would move to keep track? They considered that the first computer.
Right.
Like, I never would have considered that the first
It's
computer.
computing. Comes from the word computing. You're making computations.
Sure, but then I have no information on that from the
Okay,
past.
but that's
no.
you,
I mean, in
Greg.
that history,
Right.
I don't know if anyone has in a technology sense. So, like,
okay, hang
maybe
on.
one of them.
Okay, let me. Yeah, but I said
cars.
thousands of years ago. I'm not saying 200 years ago or 300. Whenever the hell that first computer was first made.
Okay.
I'm talking about thousands of years. Technology has been around for thousands of years. How? The hammer, when cavemen were cracking shells with a rock, that's technology.
Okay.
That's a tool.
Sure.
Technology comes from a tool.
Sure.
Maybe your ancestors were more they were more what's the word? So, they learned to use technology better than my ancestors.
Have you seen the movie Ants?
No.
You haven't seen the movie Ants?
No.
Disney movie? Oh, okay. Well, in it, the ants, you have worker ants and you have like the soldier ants. And all the mothers would line up and walk to the queen and present their baby, and the queen would go this way or that way, and then those moms would stay.
And for people who are not watching the podcast, Greg just
go left or right.
Okay.
And then when you're in your lines there, you then go to either the soldier side or the worker side. And those ants, that's what they are. And you can see clearly that the baby looks like the soldier and the other baby looks like the worker. The bodies are obviously different, and you can clearly see the difference. So you'll know where the queen is sending them. So you're saying that it's similar to that you are predetermined to be in a certain role within life based off of your family, which is based off of wherever you came from at the beginning.
Yes.
So then,
however,
with that sense that you think that the majority of people came from different backgrounds, like no. I believe Adam and Eve, so we all came from the same person. So how does it like extend? That's also really weird because then that same person would have to like either
well, isn't there different species of dogs, or like not species of dogs, but like different species of birds? They all fly. They all have the same kind of style looking. They look similar.
They all serve different purposes.
Right, but they all seem different. Right, that's part of it.
In that sense, I can kind of understand that, but in that sense, it's not predetermined because of the people before me. It's predetermined because that's the type of innate. I want to say personality, the innate humanality of what you're gonna be
Humanality?
regardless.
I don't
You
even
have
know
no
if that's a
choice in
word.
that. Because even in the Ants movie, there was obviously a soldier. No, this is an example.
I know, Greg,
There's
but
a soldier.
I know, Greg.
A clearly bodied
Where do you-
soldier who was put as a worker.
Okay.
So like you can be put in the different circumstances regardless what type you are.
Okay. Where do you think they got that idea to make that movie?
Because they see that in life.
Yes.
But that's the point, though. It says it's not predetermined because of the people before. It's predetermined because of the experience you're in.
It's both. Like Shaquille O'Neal could not be Shaquille O'Neal if his parent or his somewhere in his genetic makeup, they weren't that tall or they weren't that ambitious. It's that and the hard work you put into practice. It's both.
But
I think it's both.
His innate size, though, he had no control over. Is the point, though?
But I'm not arguing that. I'm saying. I'm saying. Yeah, but that's one
you
thing.
Don't have control over the innate things that you're born with. I don't have control
I don't
over
think
my body getting to a certain size. You're gonna.
Well, you do.
You have control over your fat gut.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Yeah.
But I had no control over how tall I'm getting, how many hairs grow out of my head. Like, sure, I can shave my head.
No.
But those things, the hair grows automatically. Like, that's my point. There's things that you don't control.
Your parents. Well, hang on. Your parents had the control of how tall you were by feeding you certain nutrition, or,
Yes, but I can't be fed a certain nutrition to become Shaquille O'Neal size. It's not a thing.
Well, not yet. That's what the genetic coding is about.
But see, now we're going into a different thing.
But I'm not
taking different pieces
right now
to create something specific.
Yeah, but right now I'm not. We don't have to get into that conversation.
But that's not the point. Don't have control over that. Like it's something that happens.
But okay, Greg,
control.
This whole time I'm not talking about that. I know that. I know that I did not have the control to be 5'10". I understand that. What I'm telling you is that somewhere in my bloodline, whatever my ancestors were doing, they passed down certain genes to me, and now I'm here, and now I have to figure out. These are the cards that I was dealt with. However, let me give you this example. My dad used to be a landscaper here. He had his own company. I was 6 years old. I probably saw my dad not more than 8 times. And obviously the time within those times could have been different, a different time frame. Like sometimes he would be over for 6 months. Sometimes he would be over for 3 months, right? But 6 different times throughout my life that I clearly remember him coming home and blah, blah, blah. He never talked about his company. He never talked about anything. He never showed us how to landscape. He never even said anything about business. My mom knew. That's where she knew how he earned his money. But the kids didn't know anything. Why is it that I am like trying to figure out a way to build a business? Like, why? Is it because of my experiences, or is it because of both? I think, or your genetic makeup. And my argument is, I think that it's both your genetic makeup and your experiences that create you as a product now. So somewhere in my bloodline, people were salesmen. People were interested on having conversations such as these. Maybe my ancestors used to sit down around a fire and just talk shit all day, and that's where I get it from. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I was never taught to. In fact, I was never socialized. But then, if you, because you know me, you know that I do okay in social situations. Although, okay, like I feel like I am a little introverted too. I feel like I do have social anxiety, but maybe it's not as prevalent as you, where you have a little bit more, and that could
A
extend,
lot more.
and that could extend from your previous bloodline. They were doing what? They were in technology. They weren't really socializing out. Do you see what I mean? I think it's both. I think it's both the gene, the genetic makeup, and then the experiences. Because if your dad would have said, you know what, I don't want Greg to be like me. I'm gonna make him socialize since you were a kid. And if he would have done that to you, I don't think you would have had the same social anxiety you have now. And this is what this whole podcast is about. We have all been programmed, we have all been conditioned, we all have genetic makeups that makes us different. But now, here in the present, the product that you now have, if you choose to take the red pill and you become aware of what is happening, you now have the choice. Do you want to be poor like your bloodline, or would you like to be rich like your blood and create a different bloodline for your kids? Like, you have a choice now. So you and I have the choice, even though we come from different backgrounds, different genetic makeup, whatever. You now have a choice of how you're gonna pursue your future, and so do I. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is about breaking the mold. If it's a bad mold, and you don't, and you feel like you're not, I don't know, if you feel like you don't belong there, if you feel like you deserve more, or if you wish to have more, or if you want more, I, for one, am thinking of breaking that mold, being a different person, doing things my ancestors probably never did. A good example would be if you guys have, I don't know, disease in your bloodline. What can you do to alter that? What can you do now to prepare your kids to be better off in the future? And those are the types of choices that I want to talk about today. You know? And I don't know. Am I just crazy or what? Like, what do you think about that, Greg?
We'll just go back in circles.
What did you? Okay. But what do you think? Like, now that I made it in, or that I put it, that I articulated in this way, what do you think about?
Well, I think we agreed in a sense, because, like you said, take what our ancestors gave to us and do what we want. So it's like, I'll go back to the ants analogy. It's the same thing with the main character in that movie. Essentially became a soldier, even though he was a worker. And he ended up saving the colony, where no one would ever thought the worker was the one who was going to save the colony. So, sure, you can have a different experience than your ancestors, and that's where I'm saying that it doesn't make sense that you would be grabbing things to the ancestors, because if there's enough people within the bloodlines that have done the same thing as you, then you're not taking the same things. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, but how much is that percentage, Greg?
It doesn't matter, because then it would change
the
bloodline. So
okay, but
at that point,
no, but like, I'm saying,
from
like,
your point on,
no, but I'm saying
taking from you rather than what you took from previous.
Or maybe they wouldn't take from you, and they take from their previous bloodline. Maybe the genes are too much for them to overpower. Maybe they don't have the mental capacity to do that.
Are we talking light side, dark side here?
No, I'm talking about, like, let's say that my family is crazy lazy. They're just lazy people. I have the choice to either be like them or not be like them. And then I'm going to have kids. And then if they don't want to listen to me and they don't take on from what I did, it means that they're still too close to the bloodline. It's only one generation away. They can take on their ancestors and be lazy. Maybe they don't have the same mental capacity as I do. That's what I'm trying to get to, you see?
Okay.
So people still have a choice, but if you look at it in a general sense, how many people choose to be different? How many people choose to be more than what they were handed? Not many. And so if you want to be part of that small percentage of people and try to grow that percentage, because I think that's the only way to solve the world's problems, is to be the best you can. So I'm going to try to be the best I can. Although sometimes life happens and you just back you start you take one step back and then you take two steps back, or you take one step forward and then you take two steps back. um but I mean, it's ultimately your choice. And Greg and I are going to be reading more books and trying to override our previous conditioning and programming, and hopefully be great in any sense. Like, you can be great at whatever you want to do. Like, if you want to be a good person, well, then be a good person. If you want to be great at computers, then be great at computers. I'm just saying we have that choice now, and I want to be thinking this way instead of like, well, I didn't really, and this is just me. This is the way I am. Like, I just don't want more lazy people in this world. I don't know. Now I'm going on a tangent. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us for another episode today. We'll be back here next week. So we're just going to share with you a little bit of the books that I've been reading. Right now, I am in the middle of reading The Power of Habit: Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business by Charles Duhigg. So far, I think it's pretty good. I think it has got a lot to do with what we were talking about today. In fact, as soon as I'm done reading this, Greg's going to read this, and in one of our next podcasts, we'll probably discuss the things that we've learned and see if we can correlate some of the things from the book to our personal experiences. And again, I have also read The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. Also pretty cool. It talks about conditioning and programming in a financial sense. And if we have been programmed and conditioned in a financial sense, well, what else have we been programmed and conditioned to do? In other aspects of our life. And then the third book is called Holorum by Serdar Idemir. This one's a fantasy. Reminds me a lot of Game of Thrones. So if you're into that, pick this book up. Greg's going to read this book. Then we're going to try to get the author of this book, as he's a friend of our friend, to come into the podcast. So there's a lot of stuff coming. I know we've been a little lazy this past week, but we're going to try to be more consistent and break out this damn mold because, again, like I said last podcast, I'm tired of it. I want to flow like water. I don't want to be a cube.
I want to be jello. All right, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you later.
Peace.